Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, it is Friday, June 11th. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. We begin tonight with a sign of the times. In this case, the open sign at our county's fair. A COVID-19 casualty a year ago, but now a rebirth thanks to reopening rules. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne live in Del Mar now with a look at what to expect if you're heading to the fair. Tanya.
Thanks, John. We're live at the San Diego County Fair in beautiful Del Mar. Look at the day. It's beautiful out. And although we're not getting our full fair this year, there is still lots to see. Pretty cool, right? And we've been here all day talking to fair visitors on why they just couldn't wait to come out here on opening day. Take a look. It's opening day at the San Diego County Fair, but things look a little different this year. You're still sure to find some of the food favorites, animal shows, shopping, and the classic Ferris wheel and carousel. More children's rides are expected to open up after June 15th. We talked to people who couldn't wait for the fair to return and came out today.
Those turkey legs, I just had to come back for those turkey legs. I love it, and just the fact that we've already been vaccinated and out to see other people, amazing.
You want a taste of this year's fair, you will need to make plans in advance. Reservations must be made. This includes parking and entry tickets. Visitors will need to select their arrival time to avoid overcrowding. No tickets will be sold at the door.
I have a changing schedule, and as soon as I found out that it was open today, I was like, I have to get on it, and I had to force him to come out.
It's my whole day off too, so yeah.
The fair is open all week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. except Mondays and Tuesdays, and will run until July 4th. Speaking of the 4th of July, the fair's fireworks show has returned this year, and if you plan on attending, make sure you make your reservations. That day is expected to sell out. And if you didn't know, the fairgrounds are still a vaccination station. No appointment needed. So if you haven't gotten your COVID-19 vaccine, you can come out here, grab a turkey leg, and get your vaccine all at the same time. Live in Del Mar, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Okay, Tanya, looks like a lot of fun. Thanks. Governor Newsom was in Vista today, where he presented a $50,000 check to one of the winners in the vaccinated lottery pool. And another San Diegan is among the winners drawn today. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says the governor also issued new executive orders to lift pandemic-related restrictions next week.
Number 33. 33. San Diego.
San Diego. Oh, my gosh.
The governor was at the Vista Community Clinic where he watched another lucky 15 residents win $50,000 just for getting vaccinated.
I see your name on a $50,000 check.
He also presented 17-year-old Vista resident Nancy Gutierrez, who won last week's lottery pool, with a literal big check.
And so someone called you and you thought, what, is your brother cranking you or something?
No, they called my mom, and my mom came in and was like, Nancy, you don't believe it. And I was like, we didn't believe it at the beginning, but I think after a few more phone calls, we were like, okay, I think this might be true.
Newsom says California is ready to reopen, and he's issuing new executive orders that next week will end restrictions meant to slow the virus's spread. That means doing away with social distancing, capacity limits, and the color-coded tier system that has been in place for more than a year.
Our hospitalization rate today, for the first time, has dropped below 1,000. Again, lowest case rates in America.
The stay-at-home order is also going away, but the state of emergency will continue to aid in the recovery from the pandemic.
The state is not coming back. It's coming roaring back.
We're now just days away from California's big reopening, lifting nearly all COVID-19 restrictions. But the governor says he's concerned about vaccination rates, not ours, but other states.
As we move into the summer months, people put down their masks, literally and figuratively, and announce mission accomplished. We're not even close to where we need to be as a nation. We're not at herd immunity. Not even close.
Newsom says more than 70% of adults in California have at least gotten their first shots. And speaking of masks, vaccinated residents will be able to take them off with a few exceptions next week. But vaccinated workers will have to wait a little bit longer. Cal OSHA is meeting on the 17th where they could change that. But if approved, the earliest the new rules would go into effect would be at the end of the month. Newsom could issue an executive order to speed that up.
That needs to be addressed and will be, I assure you, addressed.
Next week, 10 vaccinated residents will be chosen to win $1.5 million each, and Newsom says more incentives to get people their shots are on the way. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
If you haven't been vaccinated yet or need to help a family member find a shot, we have all the information you need on our website. Click on the vaccines link on our homepage at kpbs.org to find a location close to you. President Joe Biden is across the pond for the G7 summit. As Daryl Forges reports, the focus of his first trip abroad as president is restoring alliances and promoting a wartime-style effort against COVID-19.
An awaited reunion, G7 allies together on one stage after nearly 2 years, with England's Carbis Bay in the background. President Joe Biden on his first international trip since taking office. The summit's agenda covering a wide range of issues, including the global economy and calling for a wartime effort against COVID-19.
Be sure that we're beating the pandemic together and discussing how we'll never have a repeat of what we've seen, but also that we're building back better.
Up front on Friday's agenda is the global economy, where the leaders from the UK, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Italy, and the United States are expected to announce an endorsement for the global minimum tax of 15%, something they say will lead to a more inclusive global economy. The three-day G7 summit also calls for unity, with German Chancellor Angela Merkel saying, quote, "I am of course happy that the American president is present here. Being able to meet Joe Biden is obviously important because he stands for the commitment to multilateralism, which we were missing in recent years." Biden and the First Lady will pay a visit to the royal family over the weekend. And next week, Biden travels to Geneva to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. As to what will be discussed in that meeting,
Mr. President, what's your message to Putin?
So you have to deliver it.
Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
The military funds set aside to build a wall on the U.S. southern border are being returned to the military. Today, the White House Office of Management and Budget said it was giving more than $2 billion back to the Pentagon. The money will be used for military projects like on-base schools, housing, and other facilities. President Biden paused the border project back in January and called for a review of its funds. Since then, the White House has also canceled all contracts connected to the wall construction. Military bases across California have tested positive for a toxic chemical. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says a new bill would set aside $10 billion for a cleanup.
The Department of Defense has known for decades that a chemical found in aviation firefighting foam contains potentially toxic PFAS, which has been linked to cancer when found in groundwater, says Senator Alex Padilla.
In California alone, there are 62 military facilities known or suspected to be a source of PFAS chemicals contamination. That's just California.
At bases such as China Lake, the chemical has been found in groundwater at several times the acceptable limit. But most California military bases, including Naval Base San Diego, Miramar, and Camp Pendleton, are on the list where there is potential contamination. Also, 11 California National Guard bases.
Presence of these chemicals in a lot of places, drinking water is still safe for now. And that's the good news, but that doesn't mean that the chemicals are not in the ground or elsewhere in the environment. They can impact drinking water supply over time.
According to the California National Guard, the foam is still being used in older equipment because no alternative has been earmarked. PFAS lingers in the environment for decades. The problem has been finding money for cleanup. Padilla's bill would provide more money for testing, but also $10 billion to get rid of the chemical. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
If you live in the Encanto neighborhood, you need to boil your water before drinking it or using it in food. preparation. A contractor working on a Thursday near the intersection of Imperial and 65th cut into a water main. The affected area is north of Brooklyn Avenue, south of the 94, west of 69th and Kelton Road. The city says repairs might not be complete until Saturday or Sunday. You should also bring water to a rolling boil and let it boil 1 minute before use. The city is offering free water at the 4 locations you see on your screen: the Encanto Rec Center, Black Contractors Association of San Diego, Greater Life Church, and Pillars of the Community. You're asked to bring your own containers. Individual water bottles will also be available. Residents of Normal Heights are rallying to save their neighborhood's only community garden. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the property was recently put up for sale.
Danielle Newsom-Myers tends to her plot in the Vera House Community Garden on the corner of North Mountain View Drive and 34th Street in Normal Heights.
We got some cucumbers here, really nice for pickling. This kale is going off. It's getting really tall this year.
Newsom-Myers says this garden is more than just a piece of land to grow vegetables.
And as you see, it's beautiful. There's beautiful flowers, amazing plants, and it's always nice to kind of like chat with the gardeners while they're in their plots, and also it's just kind of a meeting spot for the neighborhood.
But this gathering place might not be around for much longer. The property owner decided to put the land up for sale. It's listed at just under $400,000, and it's zoned for one single-family home. Newsom-Myers acknowledges it's private land, and the owner has the right to sell. She just hopes they'll consider selling or leasing to the gardeners or the city of San Diego.
But I think we also want to get a better sense of what the sellers, what they want and their objectives, and how can the city work with us to make that happen. But yeah, I think we're ready to launch a fundraising effort if needed. We're going to do everything we can to save the garden because we're not ready to give up on it.
The gardeners are holding a party Saturday morning to raise awareness about their campaign. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Petco Park continues its role hosting graduation ceremonies for San Diego Unified School District's class of 2021. The in-person ceremonies allow students and families to mark the milestone together while following physical distancing protocols. They can watch the grads on the huge scoreboard or on live stream if they can't be there.
We're the new generation, we're the future. So we gotta set examples, be leaders, and that's what it is. Good energy, just be happy, smile.
Just being able to be in person and get the live graduation experience was so important, and it's so nice just to get some semblance of closure. I mean, I think it's so important for everyone, just because we've all been cooped up indoors. I got like a nice 2.5-month period of school in person, and that was so important just for me to be able to tie up all those loose ends, see all my teachers, my friends.
I love my family, and I'm glad that they're here to celebrate with me, especially my mom. I don't include her in a lot of things, so I'm glad that she's here to celebrate this day with me. I'm just super excited to be graduating. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be surrounded by graduates and other individuals dressed up and looking nice. So it's just an experience in itself.
Congratulations to the entire class of 2021. Graduation ceremonies will continue through Monday. With the pandemic easing up and more businesses opening, workers are starting to return to offices. But as Vanessa Yurkovich explains, a shortage in childcare workers is having a domino effect on parents who can't leave their kids home alone.
Mornings at Wonder Spring Early Education in West Philadelphia start with circle time. QRS. The infants are fed and sung to.
Who doesn't like class?
The toddlers play with blocks and toys, all under the watchful eye of these childcare workers for 8 hours a day, every day, called teachers here.
They are teachers. They're not just daycare workers. We're not caring for days, we're caring for children.
But childcare workers, 98% women and almost half people of color, are paid poverty-level wages to watch, care for, and teach America's youngest, earning a median salary of about $24,000. And now there's a shortage of people for this critical work.
Finding teachers today is quite a challenge.
These classrooms at one of Wonder Spring's centers sit empty because 30% of their positions are open, just above national numbers, showing a nearly 20% loss in the childcare workforce since the pandemic.
I can't just sell more toilet paper in order to earn more money to pay my teachers more. I also can't just randomly charge the families 25, 30, 40% more in tuition. I have to be able to have funding to do that.
The American Rescue Plan allotted $39 billion for child care centers, but more money is needed. Both the American Families Plan and infrastructure bill would provide billions to these centers.
Public funding is the answer to ensure affordable or free access to early care and education for families and to ensure livable wages for the early care and education workforce.
Livable wages and less of a burden of cost on parents.
I was quoted around $4,300, which is actually not the same price as my rent, but more than my rent.
And that's if parents can even find a child care center with openings. Wonder Springs a wait list of 100 families.
Just don't get too deep.
In Los Angeles, Tamia Mitchell has spent months looking for child care for her 2-year-old and 4-year-old I.
I'm on a couple of wait lists. I felt like no one thought of what this is doing to a single mom who still has to work as well.
She's a teacher herself, working from home throughout the pandemic.
Come on, Ari.
She takes turns watching her toddlers with her 13-year-old daughter, Ayana, until spots open up.
You want them to be learning, you want them to be happy, you want them to be safe. Why should that be something that's so difficult to attain? It shouldn't.
Vanessa Yurkovich reporting there. San Diego County is getting more than $24 million to address pandemic-related health disparities. The CDC awarded health agencies across California nearly $196 million for that purpose. The grants are meant to improve testing and contact tracing among populations that are at higher risk for COVID and are underserved. The money is also meant to advance health equity. A staffing shortage at CAL FIRE is starting to raise concern now that summer fire season is here. Even volunteer departments across the state are in need, and COVID is getting the blame. Before the pandemic, CAL FIRE trained inmates at state prisons for help, but because of COVID and early release, those extra hands are no longer available.
Unfortunately, I believe that the inmates are not going to be available to us this year, which is going to make staffing get creative. And again, the volunteers will be put on the front line, and we're just going to be all hands on deck.
Agencies are now looking to other groups to help find manpower, and hiring ads urge people to sign up to be a firefighter. Of course, we can all do our part to be fire safe.
Staying comfortable over the next few days, that's going to be the name of the game for so many of us. But once we work our way through the interior, really the deserts, we're going to be talking about that heat building as we head through the next few days. No rain in sight ahead. We would expect that, though, this time of year. Already excessive heat warnings in place through some of our deserts where we do have those temperatures on the rise and will continue to be on the rise as we work through the weekend into the start of next work week. Tonight, though, not really any problems out there. We will have a marine layer returning. Not all of us are being impacted by that. San Diego, 64-year low. Oceanside coming in at 54. Mount Laguna, 64 for year low. And as we go through time, again, this marine layer isn't very established, but there will be at least some of our usual June gloom out there to be had heading into Saturday morning. Pretty limited in nature, so by the mid to late morning hours, we're really not talking about much impact there from that. And the sun comes out. It's what keeps the coast more comfortable, but for the rest of the interior this weekend, much of the southwest, we're talking about those temperatures on the rise, easily in the triple digits for so many locations. San Diego, you'll hit 73 for your high tomorrow, but Borrego Springs 107 for your high. And as you look towards Escondido, we're still in the mid-80s, so it's going to be trending upward. And doesn't stop just for the weekend. Monday and Tuesday, we'll also have more of that heat building as this upper high pressure system strengthens through the four corners. So that's where the core of the heat will be. Notice, though, the coast staying in the 70s throughout, although we will change to the upper 70s for Monday and Tuesday. Still some limited coastal clouds, and inland locations upper 80s, close to 90 degrees for the afternoon. That holds on through the weekend into the start of next work week. Mountain locations, we do work our way from the mid-70s towards the mid-80s by the time we head into the middle of next week. And the trend is going to be even more so increased for the deserts as we work our way into the 110 range by the time we start off next work week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
2 people returning from a trip on a cruise ship have tested positive for COVID-19. Officials say the 2 shared a room on the Celebrity Millennium. The cruise line says they don't have any symptoms and are currently in isolation. The tests were given during a required end-of-cruise test. The Millennium was the first ship to sail with guests from North America. All passengers and crew were fully vaccinated before setting sail from St. Martin. No one else on the cruise tested positive, even people that were in close proximity to the couple. Earlier, we took you to this year's edition of the San Diego County Fair, Homegrown Fun. In our Friday Business Report, SDSU's Miro Kopik tells us how this fits in with San Diego's reopening.
There's going to be fair-like food, carousels, Ferris wheels, pony rides, musical attractions, and all the more traditional things that you see in a county fair, either agricultural or animal exhibits and other fun activities. The way you get tickets is you have to buy them online. You have to buy your parking pass online. When you go, you go during a time of day. So once you arrive, you could stay as long as you want, but you only can arrive during a certain window. So it's going to be a little bit different. They're not selling tickets at the door. And why this is important is because as the economy opens on the 15th of June, California fundamentally reopens as a state. It's going to open up the economy in San Diego much more definitively, and we're going to see a lot of growth here in over the next 60 to 90 days. And hopefully that unemployment rate that's been dogging California at a higher rate than the national average of 5.8% will start to come down pretty quickly.
Get a shot, get a pair of Padres tickets. The county and the Padres are teaming up for 2 Vax at the Park events. The first free walk-up clinic will be tomorrow at Petco from 9:30 in the morning until 3:30. The next will be June 26th from 1:30 in the afternoon to 8 p.m. Each person vaccinated gets a pair of tickets to a future Padres game and a Padres hero t-shirt. Chicago officials are using the city's largest music festival to encourage vaccinations. The city is giving away 1,000 one-day passes to Lollapalooza, but only to people who are fully vaccinated. The 4-day festival kicks off near the end of July. Onstage Playhouse reopened last week for in-person performances. The play the Chula Vista-based company chose for its first live performance in more than a year is Sheepdog. KPBS arts reporter Beth Alcamando says it taps into current issues, but from an unexpected point of view.
As with other arts organizations, Onstage Playhouse has been unable to hold in-person events for more than a year because of COVID-19. But last weekend, the Chula Vista Theater Company reopened for live performances. And that makes artistic director James Darvis happy.
It feels like I had been wearing somebody else's pants for like 16 months, and they were a little too short and maybe a little too tight, and then I got my pants back. And so now I feel comfortable, I feel in my element, I know what I'm doing. It feels very, very good, very good.
Located in an old bakery on 3rd Avenue, the intimate venue has been producing live theater for more than 2 decades. Current pandemic restrictions only allow them to sell 25 tickets out of its 70-seat capacity for each performance. But that number may increase after an anticipated June 15th announcement from the state.
The people that are coming and the people that are calling and ordering the tickets are just exuberant to be able to come back and see live theater.
For the return to live theater, Darvis chose the new play, Sheepdog.
A few weeks later, you're ready to say it. 3 weeks after that, he moves in.
Darvis hails from Cleveland, so he immediately connected with a play about 2 Cleveland police officers, a black woman and a white man, whose relationship is tested when the man shoots an unarmed African American.
For the first time, you hear it. Ryan's version of events.
It doesn't speak politics at all. It just shows this very interesting perspective on a topic that has been so polarizing, correct? That it was so refreshing to hear two police officers discuss this, which is something that we don't hear very often. We hear families of victims, we hear advocates, we hear people who are extremely liberal or are extremely conservative. But to find this opinion and this perspective, I think is brilliant. And it's a beautiful play. It's so current.
In the play, Tina Michelle Brown plays Amina, who explains her job to the audience.
You're not a forensic psychologist, you're a patrol cop. You don't deal with whys, you deal with objective reality, what you could see, hear, and grab onto, the ugly that's right in front of your face. And that's what you start calling it. You versus the ugly.
Onstage Playhouse began as a community theater, but now has moved up to semi-professional status.
Every single one of our artists receive compensation for their time and talents. There are 2 now paid staff positions at the theater. I'm super proud of the work that Onstage has been doing and that we are doing. And I just urge people to come out and see the magic that can happen in a really small, intimate room for a really low budget. It's absolutely amazing the work that's being done in those walls.
Sheepdog continues Fridays through Sundays till the end of June at Onstage Playhouse. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have yourself a great weekend.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.